Risk is any uncertain event which can have positive impact or it can have negative impact on any of the project objective. Very important thing to understand here is that risk is basically probability into impact. Probability mean what is the likelihood something happening, what is the chances that something will occur. This is called as risk. And remember, probability can be 0 to like 99.999. If it becomes 100%, the probability of an event becomes 100% of occurrence, then it does not remain the risk. It becomes an issue. This is an important thing to understand. The probability has to be like 99 to something like that. If the probability becomes 100%, it becomes an issue. It does not remain a risk. If we look at our journey, plan risk management, we get risk management plan as an output. Risk management plan is a plan which basically tells us how we are going to manage all the risk. It's a plan which is going to tell us what is the risk tolerance of the organization. It is the plan that is going to tell us how much risk the stakeholders can bear. What is their appetite? Risk appetite means how much risk an organization can take in favor of the benefit. In anticipation that we can get some benefit, how much risk an organization can take. This is called risk appetite. Then risk management plan defines us is the organization or stakeholders are risk averse. Risk averse means are they running away from the risk? It tells us is the organization or stakeholder the risk seeker. Seeker means that are they running towards the risk? This tells us are the organization is risk neutral. That they are neither seeker means neither runs toward the risk, neither risk averse, neither runs away from the risk. They are neutral. They check positive as well as the negative analysis, maybe do SWOT analysis of the risk and define according to that analysis whether to take this opportunity or not to take opportunity. Then these plans tell us what is the variability of the risk events, like how much variable the risk can be. Variability, there are two terms, variability and ambiguity. Variability event about the risk is number of risk that can occur. Like if I take the example of corona, how many number of patients will get corona? Now, one thing is very important. In variable risk, we know that we are sure that this thing will happen, but we are not sure how many numbers. For example, how many defects will occur while doing a welding of 1 million joints? We are sure that some of defects will occur, but we are not sure how many. So there is a variability in the number. Then there is ambiguity. Ambiguity deals with those risks that we are not sure this will happen or this will not happen. Once again, this will happen, this will not happen.
Not happen.
Emergent risk are risks that we have not planned. In risk management, we try to get identify all the risk and identify risk, but sometimes we are not aware. Like nobody was aware that the corona will occur. So it is known as emergent risk. If an unknown risk occur, it is known as emergent risk. And the power or the strength of an organization to tackle this unknown risk or emergent risk is known as project resilience. Okay. And as we
Uh,
know, okay, risk is basically probability and impact. Definition of probability is also in the risk management plan. Definition of impact and the metrics we will use. Like we can use a matrix having like only three parameters, very low, a low, medium or high. Or will we use the matrix from very low, low, medium, high, very high? So the definition of the risk, probability and impact must be in the risk management plan. Once we have the risk management plan, we go to identify risk. We go to identify risk. In identify risk, we make a risk register. Now, risk register is a single document. Risk register is a single document which has all the risk from start till end. All the risk from start till end will be in the identify risk. So we get potential response in it. We get a risk register in which we have list of all the risk. What are the risks? What are their potential responses? What are the potential owners? Right now, we only have list of all risk in the risk register, potential owners, not definite owner, potential owner and potential responses. Okay, we have not prioritized the risk. And then we have a risk report. In a risk report, we have written down what are the triggers, what we can perceive that the things can come. Risk report is basically created as a result of a risk meeting, or you can call it a risk review meeting. It can be a weekly, bi-weekly meeting, and as a result of that, this report is created. In this report, we have basically detailed of overall risk, what can impact, which risk can object, which objective. We have detail of if we have done quantitative analysis, S curves and all these things. So we do, once we have done with this, we move toward the next topic, and that is we rank the risk. Now we have like 100 of, let's say I have 100 risk in the risk register. So all risk don't need the same appropriate approach that we deal all the risk the same way. So we rank the risk here. In qualitative, basically, we rank the risk into probability into impact. We rank risk as low, medium, high, or very low, low, medium, high. Let me show you how you do that. Let's say we are using a matrix of 5 by 5. Risk is, as you know, probability into impact. Let's say probability is, we have defined probability as very low, low, medium, high, very high. So I can say that, like, let me put one, give a number to it, low, medium, high, and very high. Similarly, the impact can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then we make a risk matrix. Let's write probability here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Impact here, oh, equal to will not come, and we write impact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we multiply this with this, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we multiply this with this, we get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Then we multiply this with this, we get 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Then we multiply this with this, we get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Multiply this with this row, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So we get a matrix of 5 by 5. According to organizational assets, we say those risks that are have risk number. The result which you get multiplied by this is called risk number. So risk having risk number more than 16 to 25, let's say they are very high. Risk having number from 12 to 15 are quite high. Then risk having 8 to 12, maybe we call that at medium. Then we risk having 6 to maybe 10, we called as low. Risk less than this are called as very low. So we
Very low.
categorize the risk as very low, low, medium, and high. So this is called risk matrix, and this is the reason we do qualitative risk assessment. That when we are doing qualitative risk assessment, we need to check the risk quality data. We are checking risk quality data. Data quality assessment, you can call it as. Basically, you are doing probability and impact on the data you have. So you need to categorize that what data you are having and how to categorize them. So risk, you need to check that data. Then you categorize that risk as technical risk, managerial risk, and so on. You can categorize any risk as technical risk, managerial risk, process risk, organizational risk. In risk categorization, you can also use PESTEL. A prompt list can also be used here. We called it as prompt list. Prompt list are the ready-made list available in the organization that can be used to categorize the risk or identify the risk. political risk, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental risk. So once you have ranked the risk, you get higher, very low, low, medium, high, very high. So risks that are very low or low, you put them in risk register as like in watch list. You write in risk report, put them in watch list. And high risk, for high risk, we go and see if we need to analyze them further or not. If organization says that we need to analyze them further, then we go to quantitative risk analysis. If we don't need to analyze them further, we go to direct risk response. Let's say organizations say we need to do further analysis or detailed analysis. Then we go to quantitative risk analysis. What is quantitative risk analysis? Here we are giving the risk a number. We did qualitative as low, medium, high. In quantitative we get number, like how much reserve is required, how much money is required to complete the project, how much time is required to complete the project, how much time is required to tackle that risk. So this is called quantitative risk assessment. Important tools need to understand are Monte Carlo analysis. What is Monte Carlo analysis? It is a probability distribution graph. Monte Carlo analysis gives us probability distribution. For example, let's say we are checking our project and we are checking how much cost we require to complete the project. So we make a S curve and we get a probability distribution. Let's say how we get, if we have $41 million, the probability of achieving the project is 12%. If we want the probability to go to 25%, we need almost, let's say, 43 million. If we need the probability to go to by 50%, we know need $47 million. If we have 50 million, the probability becomes 75%. And if we have 56.2%, then the probability becomes almost 100%. So basically, Monte Carlo analysis tells us what is the probability of achieving the project in this cost, what is the probability of achieving the project in this time. We can similarly make the, so this is called Monte Carlo analysis. Then we have a very important tool, tornado diagram, or it is also called as sensitivity analysis. We rank one risk against different parameters. We rank one risk against different parameters and see how these risks fall in that way. For example, if we are 10 friends and we go to, like, maybe to some trip or some tour, and there is extreme winter there. So we see, we are a 10 friends, the winter is same for everyone. How this winter affects each friend? Maybe it affects the third friend more, then the seventh friend, then the 10th friend, and so on. So we check how one risk can affect all other variables. Let me give you another example. Now, if you have a fire in your room or in your office, how this affect all other things. First, your papers will burn, then your electrical equipment will burn, then other material, then wood, and so on. So one risk, how it is affecting all the parameters. So it takes positive as well as negative impact of the risk. Sometimes risk can have both positive and negative impact. So tornado diagram takes see basically both the impacts. Then we have expected monetary value. Expected monetary value basically calculate how much reserves are needed. Since risk is probability into impact, it calculates what is the probability of something happening, and if this thing happen, what will this thing have impact on our project objective. It converts risk into the real number. Okay, higher the expected monetary value of a risk, the better it is for us. Higher the value of a risk, expected monetary value, the better it is. The negative the value it is, the worse it is. Let me show you an example how you basically calculate expected monetary value, because you can get a question in the exam regarding expected monetary value. So below we have three risks. One has probability 10 and the impact is minus 10,000. The second is probability 20 and the impact is minus 6,000. And the third is probability 90 and the impact is 2,000. You multiply probability and impact of all risk and you get minus 400. So in order to manage this risk, you need to have a reserve of 400 to tackle this risk. So this is very important, very critical to manage in the risk management. You can also get an question in the exam regarding decision tree. What is decision tree? It's a tool in expected monetary value. It says like we have two options or three options. Which option to choose? You simply multiply probability and impact of each option and you get expected monetary value of each option. As you get the expected monetary value of each option, the higher the value of expected monetary value, you will go to that value and you will select it. So this is about expected monetary value and decision tree. Now the next tool is influence diagram. In influence diagram, you are checking the influence of each variables, how these variables are connected. Let's say we have five activities A, B, C, and maybe D. Okay. And also let's say E. Okay. Okay. So A is connected here. So which activity is the most risky activity? A is the most risky activity. If A activity gets delayed because it is going to A, let me put it here. B, C, E, D. It is affecting all the activities. So it has more influence on all the activities. This is more risky activity. So this is the fourth important tool of quantitative risk assessment. And as a result, you get a risk report, which give us overall exposure of the risk expected, how much risk exposure of the complete project is. Okay, very important thing to understand from exam point of view. Qualitative risk is for only individual risk, whereas quantitative risk is both for individual risk as well as for overall risk. So once you have updated the risk register with qualitative and quantitative, now you go to basically your next step, plan risk. In qualitative risk assessment, at the end of qualitative risk assessment, you will get a risk register something like that. This is the probability, this is the impact, and you have categorized the risk. In quantitative risk assessment, basically you get the expected how much money you required and how much time you require. Now since we have made our risk register, we have everything that we need to have. Now we go to plan risk response. Now we are going to make a plan. Very important to understand, risk can be positive as well as risk can be negative. So we have both type of responses, positive response and negative response. Let's discuss first negative response. The first and the best response for risk is to avoid the risk. Since risk is probability and impact, we avoid the risk by not doing that activity at all. Let's take an example of corona. In corona, the since the risk was too high, the world took an example of avoiding the risk. They didn't go outside. They did the lockdown and all those things. This is a classic example of avoiding the risk. In the project, when you are doing, what do? You don't do that work. You don't do that work package. If it is too risky, it can kill someone, or if it is too risky, it is a negative risk. You avoid it. You reduce the probability to zero. As something becomes probability zero, multiply by anything, the risk becomes zero. Then we have mitigate. If you cannot avoid the risk, like right now, the world has realized that they cannot do the lockdown forever, so they have mitigated the risk. They have followed the SOPs. They have made compulsory to wear PPEs, to follow the SOPs and all those things. This is called mitigation. We have decreased the probability and we have decreased the impact also. So we have mitigated that risk. The next thing is transfer. If you cannot like do this, maybe you can go to the transfer. Now we cannot take the example of corona for that. Let's take it for
Sure.
transfer. Let's take the example of transfer in the
Insurance.
form of insurance. Like you transfer your risk onto a company, a car company, an insurance company, and whenever you transfer your risk to someone, you always pay a premium amount. You always pay a premium amount to them. Now let's go to the positive risk. In positive risk, we have exploit. In exploit, similarly, it is a basically reverse of avoid. It is a reverse of avoid. Exploit. Here we try to increase the probability near to 100%. And we also
Probability
try
and impact.
Yes, and we try to increase
Yes.
both probability as well impact. We try to increase both of these things. This is called exploit. In enhance, if we cannot do exploit, we do enhance. Here we try if we cannot increase the both thing, probability and impact. we try to increase one thing, either probability or impact. This is a reverse of basically mitigate. Okay. Then we have the third strategy, positive, which I haven't risked. I have missed it. That is share. We shared this with, if the opportunity is big and we cannot use the opportunity alone, we shared it with someone else, and this is called sharing. Then we have accept in both positive as well as
शेयरिंग
negative ways.
कोई एग्जांपल प्रैक्टिकली कोई अगर
Then we have share, accept. Accept is both in positive and negative. Acceptance can be active acceptance. Active acceptance is that you make some kind of plans. You don't proactively go to tackle the risk. You take a reactive approach. I would say it's a more of a reactive approach that you are sitting. But however, sometimes it is important. We cannot go after every risk. We need to make plan. If we make some kind of plans, then it is called active acceptance. We make contingency plan for specific purpose. It is called as plan A, and we make fallback plan. If contingency plan fails, then we have fallback plans that we do, that if this happens we will, and the contingency plan fails, we will go to fallback plan, that is called plan B. And the second acceptance is passive acceptance. We don't do anything around. We just sit, and if a risk happen, we make work around, which is also called in our language as jugaad. We do work around. Remember, if a risk occur and we do passive acceptance, we do work around. We use the money from management reserve. Here we are using from contingency because we are planning. We are using from contingency reserves. Then
कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव
the last strategy, it can be the first strategy or it can also be the last strategy, is escalate. Escalate is also in both positive and negative risk. In both we use escalate to the higher authority. So that is all about risk response. Now we need to understand that in risk we have triggers. Triggers are the things which tell us the risk is going to happen. Risk is going to happen. So we need to look for the triggers of the risk. Then, if we implement a plan and still a risk is left, a small risk is left after implementing the plan, we call it as a residual risk. We call them residual risk. The risk that is left after implementing the plan, a small risk. Mostly it is the acceptable form. However, we need to calculate them too. And if we implement a plan and as a result of that plan, another risk occur, that we call as secondary risk. We need to calculate secondary risk also. So that's all about plan risk response. Once the plan is done or planning is complete, now we go to implement risk response. Here the biggest thing is that we need to influence the team, the risk owners who have
रेजिडुअल रेजिडुअल रिस्क के बारे में थोड़ा बता दें रेजिडुअल रिस्क में
residual
इन
risk
केस
is the risk that is
प्लान
left after implementation of the risk. The example of residual risk is like this. Sir, if you are making a tea, okay, so once you have made that tea, you use the strainer to remove all the particles that they don't go into your cup of tea, but still some of the particles go into your tea. Those particles are called residue. So we implement all those things. In implement risk response, we need to influence the risk owner who is responsible for the risk, that if the trigger has occurred, please implement this response. Then the last process of this journey is called monitor risk. In monitor risk, we audit our process. We check the process is being done in the most effective way. We do risk meetings. In we check risk reassessment. We reassess our risk which has occurred, their plan's effectiveness. We check residual risk. We check all those things. Then we check contingency reserves. How much reserves are left? Let's say activity A have $100 as a reserve. Activity B had 100 $200, and activity C have $200. Activity A used all of its reserves. Activity B used $100, and activity D C used only $50 or $50. And activity D, which also have 200, didn't use any reserve. All these reserves go back to the pool of reserves. We do not use the reserve of one activity in other activity. All the remaining reserve must go back to the pool of risk. Okay. Then we check our technical performance. Okay. And as a result, we get work performance information change requests. Remember, in monitor risk, we get work performance data and work performance report both as input. Very important thing at any step, if a new risk is identified, at any step, we go back to the identify risk. We go back to the identify risk and we follow the same procedure for any new risk. It is very important to think about this thing. And we log the risk in the risk log and we log the issues in the issue log. That's all about risk journey. Now let's just look all these mind maps and try to understand them. So we have plan risk management. We discuss is identified qualitative, quantitative response, implement in execution, monitoring and control. Okay. Plan risk management. We had output as risk management plan. We discussed it. Inputs are charter, plan, documents, EF, OPS, tools and technique. We do stakeholder analysis, see how they are. We also use alternate analysis to see their options, expert judgment and meetings. Then we go to identify risk. A lot of tools and technique here because we want to go through all the documents. We go to the change log, issue log, estimation, risk register, lesson learned, or previous risk registers, all all baselines. We check all the baselines, all 18 plans, all documents. We ask from the stakeholders. We need to get as many risks as possible. We are looking at the procurement documentation. Procurement documentation can cause risk. We are looking at the agreements, EF, OPS. We need to look at each and everything to get the risk. We are doing expert judgment, asking experts, subject matter experts, what risk can occur. We are doing brainstorming, idea generation techniques to identify as many risks as possible. We are having interviews of stakeholders. We are using checklist. Maybe we also go to and look at work breakdown structure. We are analyzing root cause, why this risk is occurring. We are doing assumption and constraint analysis to see what are our assumptions and what are constraints. We are doing SWOT, strength. What are our strengths to tackle the risk? What are the weaknesses? Weaknesses can cause risk. What are the opportunity in the market and what are the threats? We are doing document analysis. We are doing facilitation to get the risk analysis. Then we are doing prompt list. We already discussed pastel, political, economical, social, technological, legal, environmental risk. We are also using VUCA, volatile, uncertain, and we are doing meeting. All these things are done to make a risk register, which will have the list of all the risk, the potential owner, potential response, and risk report and project documents. Then once we have all the risk, we are ranking this risk. Once we are ranking the risk through the first evaluating the data we have, is it a good data or not? Then we do probability and impact matrix. We assess different parameters, how near we are to the risk, proximity, dormancy, if the risk occur, how when we will know about that risk, manageability, how it is easy to manage this risk, promptability, how stakeholder perceive those risks. We analyze through documents, we get the facilitation, we look at the probability and impact matrix, and as a result we get risk register updated and risk report updated. It is not issue log, it will have a risk report with it also. So here basically in documents I would say we have risk register, issue log, a risk report, and assumption log is also updated. All this because we are doing assumption analysis. So assumption log is also updated. So for four important document, risk register, issue log, all the risk that has been converted into issue, they are updated there, assumptions, the status of the assumption that they are still valid or not, and risk report. So we have qualitative risk assessment here. Then we move towards the next step, that is detailed analysis, quantitative analysis. We utilize Monte Carlo simulation here, sensitivity analysis also called as tornado diagram, decision tree in expected monetary value, influence diagram. We are doing asking expert what to use, what not to use. We are doing interviews, facilitation. We are using representation of uncertainty in the form of triangular, normal, log normal graph. And as a result, we get risk report updated. Here we will have basically not risk register. Here we will have a risk report. So there's a mistake here. And so we get basically the real here is also risk report. I wouldn't say the issue log is there. So risk report is the major output of this process, which tells us basically the overall risk of the project. Then we move to the next process. Okay, we get basically here responses. Responses were for both positive as well as negative risk. all that avoid, mitigate, transfer, exploit, enhance, share, accept, active acceptance, passive acceptance, and escalate. We basically look at what are the strategies for threats, negative, positive risk. How what are the contingency response that plan A, plan B, the strategies for overall risk. We do cause benefit analysis, which to do, which not to do, alternate analysis. Then we do interview and we decide what to do and not to do. Then we implement the risk response. Here, the most important technique is facilitation. Here, influence. We are talking to a person and we are communicating them. As a result, if any risk is changed, the change request is being produced. Of course, risk register and risk report is also produced here. Then we get in monitor risk. We are doing an audit to check the process. We are doing meetings to check the risk effectiveness, seeing the residual risk, secondary risk. We are doing reserve analysis, how much contingency reserves are left, and if the reserves are left, they are turned back to the pool of reserve. Then we are checking the technical performance. Data and report both comes here, and we get information, change request to see what is the change has occurred. We get plans updated and documents get updated. So that's all about journey of risk assessment. Master this and you can clear your all the questions about risk.